I'm in the red just being on traditional platforms. I mean, you pay every year to keep your music up there, and they can just take it away and not pay you for people using their platform to listen to your music unless you meet their rubric that's always changing. Within 2 weeks, my one song had made like $200 if we had, converted it. And the response was crazy, but it was more than just the monetary aspect. It was the fact that I had direct engagement with audience members, and I could see people could send me value of what they found valuable about the song. Now, two things. You can go the way of, that's a bit overwhelming. This can be anything. And the other part is that is so beautiful and open for creation, and it is an inspiring opportunity. As an artist, that's more important to me than anything else. That's real fanship, and also just as a person, that's really amazing to be able to see someone directly engage with your art. That's rewarding in and of itself.
Welcome to another episode of Share Your Bitcoin Journey. I am Dion Wilson, the founder and executive director of Bitcoin for the Arts. We are a 501c3 here to empower artists with Bitcoin grants, education, workshops, and to partner with arts organizations and institutions alike. In this Share Your Bitcoin Journey series, we are featuring artists who have found their way into the Bitcoin ecosystem, and we want to allow these artists to come on the podcast and share how Bitcoin has changed the way they're creating and how Bitcoin is influencing their lives in general. Today we've had with us a artist by the name of Sara Jade, who has made her way into the Bitcoin realm and has grown her following considerably for most Bitcoin artists. So I'm so glad that she is here with us and going to share her journey as an artist and how Bitcoin is empowering her. Welcome to the show, Sara.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming today. So, Sara, for anyone meeting you here for the first time, you're a cinematic pop rock artist out of San Diego. You play the keytar. You won the 2026 San Diego Music Award for Best Pop Song. You opened for Jason Mars in April. You're performing in Vegas multiple times. You've built a 30,000 plus following on Nostra. That's quite a bit. Where does your story actually start? Take us back to the beginning.
We're gonna rewind back to 2023. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny when someone reads your stats back at you because you're just like, how did all of this happen? And I mean, it's been really less than 3 years because it was really all the summer of 2023. So my husband and I have been in the Bitcoin space for a while, more him than me as actively, and
Mhm.
he was listening to some podcasts and then heard about this music platform that was integrating Lightning. And it was WaveLink at the time. And he told me about it and he said, hey, you should go check it out. So I went on there and it was really easy to just, upload your music, go straight to the RSS feed. And within 2 weeks, my one song had made like $200 if we had, converted it. And the response was crazy, but it was more than just the monetary aspect. It was the fact that I had direct engagement with audience members, and I could see people could send me value of what they found valuable about the song. That one was Wait Destiny that I first put
Mhm.
up there. It was I think it was July or August of 2023. And so it was started to just gain this real life traction because before then, with traditional streaming platforms, you kind of just have to be on there because that's just how people in the public see you as legitimate.
Mhm.
And you feel like you're talking to a wall most of the time. Even if you see a stream number go up, it doesn't really necessarily mean engagement and true connection. And as an artist, that's more important to me than anything else. That's real fanship, and also just as a person, that's really amazing to be able to see someone directly engage with your art. That's rewarding in and of itself. So I put Weight Destiny up there. Adam Curry was doing Boostagram Ball at the time, and he really fell in love with that song and and boosted the heck out of it. And then I had some other silly songs go on, like Lip Service. And then I
Uh-huh.
just started building my repertoire on there because I had had a few releases. Well, fast forward to like December, Nostr's Damus on iOS and Amethyst on Android, and all these different clients are starting to build up. And we're like, oh, well, let's look at Nostr. At that time, it was kind of like just watching, I was just a fly on the wall, and I was just
Hmm.
watching people discuss how to build this space. And so that was pretty electric. That was exciting to be a part of, even though, the devs were right there and you could just talk to them and be like, hey, there's a bug here, or just like, hey, this is hard to do. And people would just immediately help you. And when I first came on there in December of 2023, I just was like, hey, just a
Hmm.
keytarist trying to get with the times. And people were just like, welcome, welcome, welcome. So that was cool. So I just was an early adopter in this space. And with that, not even, what was it, about 6 months later, I found myself in February of 2024, Nostr Phoenix, they invited me to come out and sing for Culture Shock. So it was my first TuneStr live stream. We know open mic of
Hmm.
TuneStr, and we live streamed just a half an hour acoustic set. My husband and I. He plays rhythm guitar, and I play the keytar. So we actually have an exclusive release on the Valueverse of one of a couple of the songs actually that we played live there, and Sam Means was helping like mix it, and
Yeah.
it was just a really cool experience. It was a small but mighty group of us, and in a half an hour, this community just really showed up. I mean, I earned a million sats in a half an hour show, all acoustic, not all the big bells and
Yeah.
whistles too.
Really.
I mean, if you if you want to have a proof of concept, that's pretty cool.
That's an amazing concept. Now, Sarah, you went straight to the good part. Now, I want us to dig in a little bit more here because
Sounds great.
what I'm trying to do is, and if you don't mind, is to help me on this. We are Bitcoin artists and we have found Bitcoin, but we really want this show to engage the people who understand art on the level that we do, but have not found Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I want to just go back a little bit, just a little bit. That's going to take us right back to this moment. So let's just go back to how is it that you found yourself in love with the arts? Now, I read early on that your father had a band and you
Yes.
worked with your dad. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us a little bit about that stepping stone that made you who you are today.
Oh, 100%. So, when I was first born, my dad was still a full-time musician, and he worked at a nightclub a few nights a week. My folks, we actually lived on a boat that was close to this nightclub, and he always played. I mean, it was classic rock, Neil Diamond, Neil Young. He was doing some Jimmy Buffett and really fun, beach music. And that was in Newport Beach. And my mom would, we'd sneak me in past
Yeah.
hours. I was just
Mhm.
the little baby dancing around in diapers, so stoked on music and thinking I'm just a part of the regular crowd. And so it instilled in me a love of music from an early age. And I was always a writer. I just, that just,
Mm,
I mean, as soon as I could write, I was on my mom's little typewriter and making up stories. And then I got really into poetry as a kid. And I would just, I would just write poetry. I mean, pretty much
mm,
from 9 to 17. And at 9 years old, every little girl grown up in the 90s knew Spice Girls, you know? And this was an interesting moment. So I had a little sleepover and we all decided which Spice Girl we were, you know, all these fun little things. And we all were singing songs all night, their songs. In the morning, though, it was the first time I just had melody and lyrics pop into my head at the same time. And one of my good friends was there with me, and she just sang randomly. I had a little ukulele, and she just strummed on a not real chord.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And she goes, Golden Fire. And then I just thought of my first like verse and chorus, and I came to my dad, and my dad had like perfect pitch, and he was just so good. He's such a well-seasoned musician. He's been playing since he was 17. He did surf rock growing up, which was pretty cool, and like a million other bands. Well, I
Wow.
come to him at 9 years old that morning after my little Spice Girl sleepover, and I say, Daddy, like I have this song in my head. So I sang it to him, and then it was the first time we worked together, and he knew what chords I was singing. He eared it, you know, he sounded it out, and he said, "Okay, these are the chords. This is the progression." And he was like, "This is actually a pretty good song." He's like, "That's amazing."
Amazing. Now that's what we want to get to because that now I know there's going to be somebody that can relate to that story. So your dad got you going, he influenced you, he inspired you, and he encouraged you, and he
He
supported
did.
you. So
He did.
that is one way for an artist to really feel comfortable about expressing themselves and finding their journey. So let's fast forward a little bit. 2021, you wrote a ballad, Jacama. Is that correct?
Jacoma, yes.
Jacoma, right? So you got the San Diego Music Award nomination, and that was an Americana piece,
Yeah.
much more intimate than what you make now. The cinematic pop rock you're doing today is a real genre shift. So was that evolution driven by what you wanted to write, or what was the inspiration behind the shift?
The beautiful part about songwriting is there's some amazing genres that are really helpful for learning. I felt I, so as an artist, you always change, you're always evolving, you're just downloading all of the things that inspire you, and they get put in this funky little smoothie blender, and you end up with something completely different than you would have ever expected. With Americana, that's where I really started. So the beautiful thing about, and for people who are like, what's Americana exactly? Because it's a random genre. We kind of know better now because of Chris Stapleton. But back when I was writing it in the beginning, no one knew what that was. It was just kind of, there's some folk in there. You're getting influenced by maybe some classic rock stuff, and it's all melding together.
Hmm.
At the time, I had, in 2010, I had started playing with my dad's classic rock cover band. So I actually was the female vocalist with them. And so I think a lot of those songs I added some top 40s and stuff, just started to meld into my system. Like you're playing, you know, Bob Seger and Van Morrison and stuff. And that song structure is like the original Americana. And I started writing these dream songs that,
Hmm.
so basically things would start to come to me. Literally, I'm asleep, and then I dream a song and I write it immediately. That was Jacoma in particular. So I can't take like my brain just came out with Jacoma, and I had a dream that Garth Brooks knelt next to me on the beaches of Cheyenne and sang this gorgeous ballad to me. And I woke up and wrote the whole thing down. And that's what started my journey into Americana. Now, as I've grown and I've changed and shifted, some of my other influences just started to work their way in there. Jacoma, even though it is an Americana piece versus my like cinematic pop rock, a big shift is
Mhm.
also that I picked up the keytar. Even though it's very different, it's also so the same. Because a lot of what I do ends up having some sort of haunting element to it. And haunting doesn't necessarily mean spooky, but there's something a little bit ethereal about a lot of the soundscapes that I create. Even if there's a lot of rock heavy grit and fun drive, there's always these random moments that will give us space to feel or just take pause because that's life, right? We're not just one dynamic, we're so many dynamics.
Mhm.
And Jacoma was that first intro into all of that dynamism, and it existed just as a melody lyrics for a long time, and I didn't sit down on the piano and finish writing out all of the chords until much later. But the shift has really come if we start with Jacoma, and then I always say, actually, the song that I just won the music award for, Hippies Raised a Cowgirl. What's more Americana than that?
Love it. That's it.
That
Ama-
song has a bridge in it that you
Yes.
can start to hear that haunting development. And as you look back at your own work and the things that just start to come out of you, you're like, oh, that was my transition into more of
Mm,
my cinematic pop rock. Because Jacoma, even though it ends up with my, especially with my voice, ends up being Americana, it still is like a score for a life. It's telling stories.
right.
And so it doesn't feel like the craziest transition, but I will say the difference is that because I now play the guitar and have the synth, that's the main thing that's like, this sounds a little more pop rock, a little more cinematic, a little less Americana, but I still do write Americana, which is, it just comes out. It's beautiful songwriting. I love it.
The keytar. It's
Yes.
a deliberate choice. Most songwriters with a rock band would have probably just picked a guitar or a microphone, but you picked the most theatrical, most 80s instrument in pop music history and made it your signature. Tell us about that.
So what happens, I grew up playing piano. My folks put me in piano at a young age. And then as every silly teenager does, we quit and then we have our own little autonomy and we come back to I actually really loved that instrument. So I was always playing piano and that's another way that I was songwriting and I still play piano, but I would watch videos back of myself and for anyone who's seen me perform, I'm a certified ham. That's what are you an artist? Yes, and a professional ham. 100%. I'm a very physical performer. I grew up doing musical theater. I love all that stuff. And I just love to dance. It's my way of connecting with people in the audience. So having this big extra box in front of me was feeling like I had a fourth wall, maybe even a fifth wall. It's just so many levels of separation between me and the audience. And, you can see my dance moves.
Hmm. I witnessed it. I got to witness it myself. That's it.
So
Yes.
So it was just kind of a way to break out of the box. It actually started out as a joke, to be perfectly honest. My
Yes.
husband and I were like, maybe you should just play the keytar, haha. And I really thought about it though. And so I'd go home and I'd flip my piano on its side. And because it is a little bit different to play horizontally and then all of a sudden play without being able to really look at your hands much. And
Right.
going from a sit down two-handed instrument to a stand-up, often right-hand melody, and then you can play it two-handed too, but you're also doing the guitar bends and all the fun stuff. And so I was like, I actually really enjoy this. I think I would like that. So secretly, my husband and my folks found me that epic rad keytar and got it for me for Christmas one year. And the rest is history. As soon as I picked that thing up, I was just like, yep, this is the instrument I've been waiting for.
Hmm. You're
And
described on your EPK as an early adopter of the value for value music movement. Most independent musicians I talk to who eventually find Bitcoin came in through inflation or libertarian politics or a technical friend that showed them the way. What was your way in? What was the first crack in the wall for you?
value for value, like I said, it was honestly the value of that true connection and that fan engagement. At the time that I was hearing about value for value, and it's actually not a completely foreign concept. I believe it was Kings of Leon who at some point did release an album that people could pay what they wanted, and it worked really well. I think they made more money than they normally make on an album. Uh, but they don't ever keep it up, which is too bad. So when I first heard about it in 2023, at the time, you, as an independent artist, have to just be willing to try new things anyway and say, okay, I'm going to put an effort towards this because to me, technology is art
Mm,
as much as what you think of art is. So it is, if it was only a science and not an art, everything would work perfectly every time, right?
hmm
No, I mean, it's taking a chance on development, taking a chance on new things. That's why we are artists. We are here to push envelopes. We are here to crack walls ourselves. And so when I hear about another artist saying, "Hey, there's this thing, I'm trying to fix a problem. Give it a chance." That was the moment I was like, I 100% will give it a chance because my background's in counseling and they were like, "You cannot counsel someone unless you are also willing to sit in the chair."
mm,
And that's how
yeah.
I felt about it. And of
Mm,
course it worked and the little connections were made. We're like, wow, this is a place I feel like I belong. This is something I've been looking for. I think if we super rewind, you're just floating around trying to say, hey, come listen to my track while people are just getting spammed by audio all the time. And this is pre AI music for the most part, you know?
mhm,
So it was just this moment that as soon as I heard about it, it had been a way forward for a long time in my head, but I wasn't able to articulate it or have the technical background to make it happen. So in a funky way, I've been living more on a in my own life a value for value. If someone's willing to take a chance on me, I will take a chance on them.
mm.
As an artist,
So you
you,
were
yeah, it
you were
just
made it.
fit.
It just fit you were already kind of feeling that way that you wanted to propel yourself in your own light as an independent artist and receive your own value without being a part of another system. So Bitcoin just seemed like the perfect answer once you discovered it.
It really did. And to be honest, I've onboarded some other people and said, "What do you have to lose? It literally costs you nothing but a couple of minutes to put your music out there, and someone out there, this community is interested in taking chances on new things." So we had actually articulated that. I talked to my husband about it. I was like, "Man, it would just be so nice to meet a group of people who were excited about something new and didn't just want the same thing served to them every day." And that community is in value for value. I think that is the coolest part about it is that they're interested in new things. We want to hear new. We want to have our boundaries pushed a little bit. Oh, wow, that's funky. I've never heard those instruments together before. What an interesting chord progression. Or, wow, this is an interesting technology. I wonder how this works. And they're not they're already kind of an early adopter community, which is awesome. But even for people that aren't and, came in later or still coming in, I mean, we always say we're still early.
Hmm.
Uh, it's a very welcoming place, and people are really interested in helping you learn because we're all just creating this together. So it's super collaborative. And as an artist, you just kind of thrive in those environments. I mean, at least that's where I feel like I belong the best.
Yeah. So within this value for value system, I'm just going to take a minute to explain to our audience. We have this platform called Nostra, which is sort of, would you say it's a decentralized version of maybe one of the major social media platforms, but it follows the Bitcoin ethos in that it's decentralized, that you can create your own Nostra servers or plugins, and it's not essentially controlled by one central party. So within this new eco social media system of Nostra, you have been able to grow your followings to 30,000 plus. And that is quite the feat because we understand that with Nostra, it's fairly new. It's not as large as the mainstream social media platforms. So to be able to create that kind of attention with such a new protocol is pretty significant, especially for an artist. We find that most of the people on Nostra that have the larger followings are the protocol makers, the developers. So as an artist to achieve that type of following on a decentralized platform where you can create value for yourself, how would you compare that to platforms like Instagram and TikTok and Spotify?
So the interesting thing about the decentralized right is that we don't have an algorithm at this point to push specific content. You can curate, your feed a little bit, but it's all chronological. So if your post gets missed, it just gets missed. It was too early for somebody, and they had other things on their feed, so it doesn't push you. Now that could, to some people, be a disadvantage, but on Instagram, I have all of those tools. For example, we'll just take that as an example. But the numbers speak for themselves. I only have like 1,800 or something followers on Instagram. And I've
Hmm.
been on there for years
Hmm.
and years. And then there's 30,000 on Nostr. Now, we can also look at like daily activity on Nostr. There's some stats and even or monthly users. Even if that number has gone down or up, I think the lowest I've seen was like actually like 12,000 active users on Nostr
Hmm.
currently. That's still al- almost 12 times what I have on Instagram.
Right.
It's night and day. And I think the cool thing about Nostr is people actually are looking for arts as well.
Mm.
And that may have helped me or just being around early enough. But there's just such a major difference in not feeling suppressed on Nostr. I can just post a picture of my coffee. There's no need to show up perfect. There's no need to show up with every filter, and there's not a lot of pick me energy that I
Hmm.
find hard to deal with on traditional social media platforms. And I'm not extremely consistent posting all the time, being a content creator, because I'm trying to create my art. And sometimes every one of these things is just a tool to reach people. For me, traditional platforms are not my favorite tool because I
Hmm.
don't have a lot of that desire to spend an hour on a 7-second video that's like, come to my show and do this. I'll post on there to let people know. but they always say consistency is the key on there. And I'm just not, that's just not who I am. I'm busy making my art. I'm going to post when it's important to share with everyone. But Nostr lets me show up that way.
Mhm.
And I can be there as often as possible and just say, "Hey, the show in Vegas, come out to Las Vegas," or I can just be quiet and scarce, and there's no expectation of how I have to show up. I just show up authentically there, and I wonder if that has been such a major difference in maybe we we manifest some things. And so maybe because I'm not a huge, as a big of a fan of meta and things like that, maybe it's just
Mhm.
not working for me because I'm not as into it. That's very possible. But yeah, you get content suppressed on centralized platforms. That's just the truth.
Mhm.
I've had things suppressed on TikTok. You can tell when it doesn't push you, and it might be suppressed for whatever reason. It just wasn't not enough people watched it in the first hour or whatever it was. I don't even bother trying to learn anymore because the information is always changing. But
Right.
you don't own your content. You are the product on the other platforms.
Mm.
And in
Perfect.
yeah, in Nostr it's decentralized and you can be
So,
anonymous too.
and within the Nostr community, this puts us back to where we talked about in the beginning. We have an app called TuneStr. Now, TuneStr hosted an event at the Bitcoin conference, is where I met you, called Nostrega. And this was my first time actually getting to see artists like yourself in the Bitcoin space perform live and receive zaps or lightning in Bitcoin, for anybody that doesn't know what zaps are, in real time. While she was performing, she was actually being paid in Bitcoin. Can you talk about that experience a little bit?
Absolutely. It's absolutely incredible that we have this technology to be able to do that. And it sets apart this experience. So when you get to the cool thing with TuneStr or live streaming with Nostr is that you still get your live connection with the people there in the room, and then people online that just couldn't make it. I mean, there's so many reasons we can't make it and it's too far, but you still get to be a part of the whole experience and you still get to give value because you received value. As an artist, it changes. We'll just take monetary, that's huge. I'm able to pay my whole band, everyone gets so much more, and then you also get to engage with so many more people than who can just physically be there. During COVID, a lot of people switched over to Twitch and would perform there. The hard part about that is there is literally just no one there. You were just singing at a wall. Now, some people are super great at just doing only live streams, and we still have those.
Mhm.
But the difference of being able to be at a live venue and have all of that energy and that synergy, and then watching that live stream from home and having the ability to be like, this is awesome, and I want to tip the artists immediately. There's nothing like that. I it sets for independent venues. It can really elevate how they can market to bands as well. But from just an artist's perspective, to answer your question, it
Mhm.
transcends the experience. You thought live performance was fun. This is even funner. Because I mean, it's immediate. I'm not an eat the marshmallow person, but sometimes it kind of feels like, oh, wow, it's like this instant gratification, or people just cheering you on. It's kind of, have you ever run like a half marathon or any kind of run? That's
Mhm.
similar to how it feels for me when people like hand you an orange on the side of the street and you're like drenched in sweat and you're like, thank you so much. And they said, go, you can do it. And that level of interaction is really cool. It boosts the connection for the audience too. Because I also like zap as an artist waiting to go on stage and get to zap my favorite artist. So I've been on both sides of it.
Mm.
And it's so exciting because as a audience member, I feel more connected and be like, here, I get to, and then I also get to say something with it. It's more than just going to the tip jar and like putting a dollar bill in and hoping you catch the eye of the singer. It's the moment that you get to say, this is awesome. I think you're cool. Or I just want to send a fire emoji and then attach a, you know, however many sats to that. It's more interactive and so much more fun.
Yeah. Right. Let's change paths a little bit. Let's talk about Never Knew.
Oh, okay.
Spotify pulled it. They stated the
Yeah.
reason was phantom streaming, the algorithmic accusation that your own streams were somehow fraudulent.
Mhm.
Y- You're not the only artist this has happened to. Uh,
No.
not even close. But let's talk about, you talked about it publicly in a way that most artists probably would be afraid to. What actually happened?
So I woke up one day and I had this email from my distributor like, hey, Spotify might take your music down and there's nothing we can do. And there's basically nothing you can do. So, just letting you know. And I checked and it was still on there. So I said, okay, that must have been a fluke. And then I looked later and it was gone. So to be super clear, the Never Knew single had been released November, uh, the year prior to its January release on my full EP. So the single got taken down, and I had looked at my stats on my artist page, and it said the only thing that was pushing it was the Spotify algorithm. I didn't have it on any playlists anymore. It was just the Spotify algorithm. Interestingly enough, it was about to hit 5,000 streams. They were changing their
Mm,
structure on how they paid artists. And one of the tiers was you had to hit 5,000 streams to be considered to be paid. I think there's also a number of monthly listeners and all kinds of stuff, but I was just at that threshold. And that's 3 months of, or, ish of streams that got just taken away from that song. So then it bumped me back down. And
mm,
there's literally nothing you can do. You can email your distributor, everything. They can't do anything. You are paying to be on that platform. So I'm very lucky that it was also on my EP and they did not take that one down, but the single's gone and those listens are gone. And it sounds so arbitrary when you talk about it now, knowing what we know about these vanity stats and things like that. But it's still a significant moment in time when you put a piece of art out there and then you just realize, oh my gosh, it's not mine anymore when I distribute it. That that feels very disempowering. Had I not had
mm,
the value verse, I would have taken it a lot harder. It would have just felt very powerless. What am I doing? I'm in the red just being on traditional platforms. I mean, you pay every year to keep your music up there, and they can just take it away and not pay you for people using their platform to listen to your music unless you meet their rubric that's always changing. It's just, I can't imagine not having another place that is truly my focus. So I fast forward like that month, I posted about it on Nostr and I said, why decentralized music is the place for me. And I wrote about how just that my story and what had happened. And I ended up making more money on that post than I had ever
mm.
made on Spotify in all of the years I had been on it, which
So,
is hilarious.
well, that speaks to the power that resonates with the Bitcoin community.
Hmm.
They saw the unjust, they saw what happened to you. You told your story, and Bitcoiners came to the rescue. This is the ethos of the Bitcoin community, ladies and gentlemen. I would suggest you find your way to the sound money system because it's so much more than about the money. It is about the principles. So here we have Sarah clearly explaining the difference between her music on a decentralized platform compared to her music on a centralized platform. They control the platform. They change the rules,
They do.
even in the midst of your already signing up. You think you're signing up under one conditions and the rules change along the way after you've already made your strategic plan on how you are going to economize and reap benefit as an artist. And what do? They change the rules. They decide to unplatform you, and there's simply nothing you can do about it. Bitcoin will now change all of that. Singing Woman, your 2024 track featuring Jessica Lark and Elizabeth Bowersock, was featured at the Bitcoin vinyl record at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville.
Yeah.
Tell us the story of that song. How did the three of you come together on it, and how did it end up in a literal Bitcoin vinyl record?
So that song I wrote years and years ago. It was one of my early ones with my dad that I sang to him and he helped me figure it out. I had this really intense thing that I really wanted to get a song out that celebrated women for International Women's Day. And
Mm,
Jesse Lark and we meet online and every Monday and we talk about our goals. And I told her about this in like November prior. She said, "Oh, okay." Well, I revisited the song and it was kind of funky. And I always say nothing's well written, everything's well rewritten. That's how literature goes. And so I took a stab at rewriting some lyrics to bring it up to where I was and also to celebrate some female artists in there that have influenced me, like Dolly Parton.
yeah.
And so all of a sudden, in about 10 minutes, I rewrote this song and it is in its current state what it was. Well, what better way to celebrate this song than having two other women on the song with me that I was also at the time trying to onboard into the Valueverse. So I invited Jessie Lark and Elizabeth Bowersox to come and sing on the song with me, recorded at my home. I worked with a producer in Nashville to get the instrumentation, and then we did all of the vocals ourselves. And I didn't want it to be just me singing singular person woohoo, have some harmonies in the background. I really liked a band called the Pistol Annies. And they are singing in three-part harmony, and they are actually a trio, not just not just Miranda Lambert and then a couple harmonies underneath her. So that was my vision for this song, to really be able to have three voices come together. And those two breathe such beautiful life into this track. So we got the recording back. We were all stoked on it. It's kind of I started at the same time in April of 2024, group for women in music called Songwriter Sisters here in San Diego. So it's just a social group. So it kind of became our unofficial theme song a little bit. I put it up I was going to go to Nashville for the Bitcoin conference because woohoo, Bitcoin and music, City Center. Heck yeah, we're going. So there was a contest at the time with the Bitcoin conference, and I submitted Singing Woman, and people got to zap in votes for whoever got the most like zaps and boosts over that time. There was like I think 8 songs on the record or something like that, and the top 8 all made it on, and we were one of them, and we were so excited. So then I got to go to the Bitcoin conference uh, and actually pick up a record with my name on it and Jesse's and Elizabeth's.
Wow, that is awesome. I love that. Now, you've had the opportunity to also partner with Jason Mars. Am I saying that correct?
Jason Mraz.
Mérez, and he is more of the traditional sense. So, what was that like being as though you have now built your space and audience outside of the traditional realm?
So I opened for him in April at a benefit concert for a venue here that is actually also a school, at a school for people with neurodivergencies. I've played there before, and they had him coming through for the benefit concert, and asked me to open, and I was so excited. So it's so fascinating because truly it's a traditional world, and he has really thrived in that traditional world.
Hmm.
And I have, well, I wouldn't say I have not. It's just I'm in the beginning stages of all these different things. And so coming to that space and doing the normal venue thing, even though it was traditional, it was also for a really special, non-traditional cause as well. So in a way, it didn't feel that different. But I got to talk about it on Nostr and bring people into that community. Now I'm posting some videos about it and things like that. They aren't separate as much as they are the same. It's just a lack of discovery, in my opinion. And he's going out and doing he's doing a tour right now and everything. And I'm talking to people at this traditional venue about where they can find my music. Because everyone's like, oh, are you on Spotify, Apple Music? I said, yes, but you could also listen to everything for free. I'm a value for value artist. Here's my website, and I actually have a page about it. So in a way, I get to bridge the gap a little bit. So I have his audience, and some of mine that came there as well. And then now the new audience that's meeting me, it's their first introduction into this space and into this world. And it's totally up to them. It's just offering them the tools. It's like, hey, you get to listen to me anywhere. If you'd like to not have to have an advertisement and you don't pay for a streaming service, this would be a great spot to listen to me. Here's Download Fountain. You can listen there, and you can also listen to
Hmm.
your favorite podcast. So it's an interesting thing to be in that space and bridge the gap and just say, hey, there's other options, and introduce people to this other world, because sometimes they'll discover it and be like, this is great. Oh my gosh, I love this. And yeah, it's feeling like an opportunity to onboard people without shouting at them about all. You don't have to go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole with that, right?
Hmm.
It's the same people. Like, we're all using it. We're all in our own way, normies and and plebs and everything, but we have our own little introductions, and it's a
Hmm.
very arts and easy way to do that.
Women are underrepresented in the indie rock, and they're severely underrepresented in the Bitcoin music community specifically. Songwriter Sisters is doing the slow work of changing the first. You're doing some of the most visible work of changing the second by being one of the very few women at this career level inside of Bitcoin music. What do you think the path looks like? How do more women find their way into Bitcoin?
I love this question. I do think that a cycle of visibility really helps. So when you see other women in this space, it makes you feel more comfortable. I think that for anyone and any person, like I said, dialing back on some of the very technical forward, like this is the way of the future, and you don't have to get on the soapbox by any means. I think for women to move forward, you do need people to just to take a chance. I am doing it through my community, so in your own personal network. So I was in a sorority in college, and our motto was do your little perfectly. And so you just introduce in your own world. And because I am connected with women in my actual local community, and they have the same complaints that I do, other artists, and hey, I just feel like I'm not being heard, and I don't know what to do and what's the next step. So then we have that common ground of music. So that's the way I introduced them. I said, hey, there's this Valueverse thing. Hey, you want to check this out? I've had a lot of rewarding engagement on there. Let's sit down, have a coffee, and then we talk about it. more women finding their space here is a collaboration. I mean, and it's needs to be an open space for everyone to feel comfortable to come into, and everyone has their own kind of entry point. So you use your local networks, you talk to people, talking to you ladies out there, meet everyone where they're at.
Hmm.
And I feel like you don't have to sell anyone. This is just for anyone, not even just women, but you don't have to sell anyone on this space. The value is there. You just have to stop saying that you know the answer to their prayers when you don't know what they're praying for. You just have to ask, like, where is the deficit that you feel like what's the need, what's the problem that you're trying to fix, or what's the engagement and the excitement that you have. Maybe Nostr has one of those things, maybe the Valueverse has one of those things. A lot of the ways that I introduce people to this space is through podcasts and Fountain and things about the arts. I think women that I know obviously are artists, so art is a great entry point. And we listen to a lot of podcasts and we're always thinking. And so I said, hey, well, why don't you download this app and then or any other podcasting 2.0 app, and you can listen to your podcast, just a normal thing. It's no different. And then they start to ask about the other things. So it's always asking forward rather than telling. I think
Hmm.
personally, I can only speak for myself. I don't like it when people tell me what to do.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
like it when people ask questions. And then if they're a little more open to feedback, you can say, well, have you checked this out? This is an interesting tool. You don't say it's the answer to everything, but then they can have the feeling of discovery. And I think that's the way to attract more women into this space as well. Ask
Love it.
questions.
The traditional music industry is structured around scarcity of distribution, scarcity of attention, scarcity of capital, and scarcity of access to gatekeepers. Bitcoin and value for value inverts all four. Distribution is open, attention is direct, capital is permissionless, and there are no gatekeepers.
Mm-hmm.
What does a music career built from the ground up on those new rules actually look like 5 years from now? If there's anybody well positioned to answer this question, it would be you.
Thank you for that, first off.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love how that's articulated. What that looks like as an independent artist. So I don't have a record label, I don't have anyone telling me what I can or can't do. And then coming into a space where it's all open. It is what you make of it. Now, two things. You can go the way of that's a bit overwhelming. This can be anything. And the other part is that is so beautiful and open for creation. And it is an inspiring opportunity. The way that it works is that you do have to put in the value in order to receive the value. That is the basic principles of the Valueverse. You put in the work, you put in as much work as you would like to. You create, create, create. You can evolve and change. This space has seen me grow even in just the last 2 years, a giant difference in genre, and you don't have to fit into one specific pigeonhole. You don't have to sell one brand. You can truly be an artist in all of it. So I don't have to remain in one way, one demeanor. I don't have to show up only as part of me. I can show up 100% as all of me and satisfy my curiosities as an artist as well. So this space really allows me to take more risks, and it inspires me to do that too. I see other people in this space take risks, and that pushes me to push my own boundaries. So in the next 5 years, I can just promise you it will all look very different. And I'm excited by that because I have the opportunity to continue to grow, to improve, to change, to move forward and rewind if I want to. I can always revisit. It's incredibly open and it's a great spot for artists to take true ownership of what they want to create and how they want to reach people.
What's next for you in the back half of 2026 going into 2027, Sarah?
Well, I'm actually working on my debut LP right now. So, a full length record for everyone. I have been working on it since last year and we're honing in. Originally, I was going to do a lot more songs on the LP, but I am planning to print it on vinyl. So I have to be good about how much time I have on this record.
Good.
My drummer was like, there's no way some of her songs are like 5.5 minutes. That's not, you can't do like 15 songs on a single, on a vinyl record. And I said, oh, yeah, okay. But I'm so excited for the next year. We are working on that album. We want to get it officially out everywhere in 2027 because it deserves the time to breathe and live. But always value verse gets it first. That's the way. This is the
Mm.
way. And then in the future, just for this year, as per usual, I started a all-female fronted concert and it's a huge event every year. So I'm doing that in October, our third annual Hollow Women Spooktacular. So we're booking that right now. So we're working on this more of an event experience show, and Jesse Lark is my co-producer. So we're really excited about that too.
Love you. Where can our audience find more information about what you're doing and find you?
They can find me on my website, sarajademusic.com. So it's SARAJADE music.com. And of course on Nostr. I'm Sara Jade at TuneStr.io. And on traditional platforms, if that's where you're at and that's where you love to be, Sara Jade Music. It's pretty easy. YouTube's all the fun stuff. Connect with me, say hello. I love to respond. I love to talk to people. You can find all my music anywhere you listen, as well as on the LN Beats, WaveLink, Fountain, all the fun value verse places.
Last question. We ask every guest this on Share Your Bitcoin Journey. If a $500 to $2,000 Bitcoin grant from Bitcoin for the Arts landed in your wallet tomorrow, what would it unlock for you as a creator?
It would unlock a financial way forward for my album, my debut. This is me. I get to arrive and say, hello, welcome to the carnival.
Thank you for joining us today, Sarah. This is another episode of Share Your Bitcoin Journey. We are Bitcoin for the Arts. Please do visit our website, bitcoinforthearts.org. We do need your support and donations. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I've loved every minute.